Good to see you. Good to see you these days. Welcome back down.
Excuse me.
Hello there, how are you?
So, have you been to Montreal lately? Yeah.
I guess I'll get things started. Welcome back to the North Country. You said to be back here frequently, and true to your word, you've been back here frequently. And you'll recall last year when we first met, you heard from me, border.
Right.
And
Promised that visit.
It's only gotten worse since then. In fact, it's gotten really tragically worse in terms of its impact on our economy. You're noticing this number. That's the annual impact of Canada and the trade on this trade corridor just on Clinton County each year. Those are the stakes. That's what's at stake. And that's rippling up and down this corridor from Montreal to New York City. We've got to keep this gateway open. This gateway is shutting down from just we're trying to put 20 pounds through a 5-pound hole. That's what we're trying to do up here right now. Without taking away from the guys I'm going to turn to in a minute, but let me kind of set things up just a bit. There are a number of folks here who you've met in the past and who are here today, and several hundred others out there that are part of the coalition working on this issue. We appreciate your attention and support, and Pedro's and Steve's and the other members of your staff. We have representation here from Senator Moynihan's office, and we thank them. They've been very helpful as well. I know you're working together down there. John McHugh's office, Congressman Sweeney's office has been helpful. Senator Stafford's office, I know, is here as well. And at the state level, they've been very helpful in working with the State Department of Transportation. It's a federal project, but there's state cooperation needed too, so I cite all of them. Art Spiegel is chairing our committee of 100, which is which you're part of. It includes, well, at least 99 other top leaders in this corridor behind this project. And of course, you met Claude Bachan, a member of Parliament from just the other side of the border, and the riding on the other side. Celine Paquette, chair of the county legislature. And forgive me if I'm missing some other folks here. Mary, you met, of course, down from Montreal, and a great partner too. Senator, there's no more, you've heard me say this before, but there truly is no more important, critical, timely issue on the North Country agenda in fixing this facility. It's an embarrassment. It's a disgrace. Anybody associated with the federal government, anybody associated with the Chamber of Commerce, I'm embarrassed. I feel disgraced that my chamber didn't start talking about this several years ago. We all have blame for this happening. But now we've got to get our act together and get it fixed because the stakes are enormous. We are experiencing truck lines here at peak times 5, 6, 7 miles. It looks like a truck parking lot on the highway on the other side. It's unacceptable. We're in a just-in-time economy today. And this port it's just too little. It's making things just too late.
There's no problem going north?
Not anywhere near to the Canada built kind of facility we need. They've done it. They've challenged us to do the same thing.
I thought that was the answer.
That's the answer.
It's 1-0 for us, eh? Kind of rare.
What I'm going to do is call on our federal agency partners here to give you a little bit of a background on the trends and what's happening here. And then it's going to kind of flip back to me to talk about some of the strategy and the steps, the action steps that we need your help with. And then we'll go out and take a look around. Am I turning this over to Tim Mancinelli? Tim.
What we'll start out with here is just an idea of the statistics part of this problem. This facility was built and occupied first in 1973, and this chart graphs the number of trucks arriving at this facility since 1982. Before 82, it was much less than 200,000 trucks. We have 3 spikes here that I'd like to talk about, and these have been the problems that we've dealt with throughout the year.
When it was 200,000, were there problems, or the facility?
No, the facility was built with 1 truck loop, and it worked fine. Back then, we dealt with 30% of the traffic was empty trucks to begin with, because the trucking industry had not been deregulated at that time. So we really only had 70% of that 200,000 we really had to work with. So what happened here, this first spike depicts probably the just-in-time inventory, the swing to businesses going just-in-time inventory and the deregulation of the trucking industry. It was this point in time that we realized we had a problem and started backing up trucks. So what we did to address that was we tore out 2 POV lanes and put in a second truck lane. And that got us over that hurdle. come along here and the ratification of the Canadian Free Trade Act created another spike. And our reaction again was similar. We petitioned for money for a third truck lane. We got the money approved from our agency, but not doing our homework real well, when we brought the third truck booth in, we had no room to put it. Where we thought we could put it, the trucks, it was determined, couldn't maneuver. It was too close to the building, and we couldn't go further west because we didn't own the property and there's a state highway there. So we kind of tweaked our process. We tried to live with this until NAFTA ratification has now put us right off the chart. And we're confined by the constraints of the facility, and as you can see, the trucks just keep coming at us, and rarely do you see an empty truck today, because if you see them once, you don't see them again. Some of the things that we've done some short-term improvements to accommodate this influx, and we've got some long-range plans, and I have some folks here that'd like to talk about those issues. Mark? Don?
Good afternoon, Senator. Thank you for coming and expressing an interest. Everybody, all the dignitaries, thank you for being here. My name is Thomas Keefe. I represent the 180 or so customs employees that work in this facility. And what I'm going to talk about is some short-term progress that we've already had and some short-term plans that aren't going to obstruct on the overall big picture. If you came in on the east side of the building over here, you'll see the trucks are parked diagonally. That wasn't always the case. That was one of the first ideas we had. What used to be there was a median, a concrete median. And what would happen is we had two choke points on each end of the facility. The trucks would come in, we had employee parking over there, and the trucks would just come in and conglomerate, and it would be very congested, block employees, there was a safety risk, a bunch of things going on at once. We came together, we decided we'd take out this median in the middle and diagonally park the trucks, and what that got us was we removed the parking to a safer area. We had the trucks with the natural egress out to 87, and the trucks that we wanted to examine would come over to the west side of the building. I'm going to show you a diagram of one of the next plans that we want to do, and this is again a short-term fix. We have a committee that sits in Syracuse that is comprised of INS, Customs, General Services Administration, and various other groups come in, and we kind of brainstorm ideas, and these are some of the ideas in conjunction with what's called the Port Quality Improvement Committee, which is multi-agencies at the port working together, coming up with solutions that we all face. This is one of those solutions. You are basically right here at this cargo processing center. This is the area that I was talking about right here. This used to be a median strip, and again, the trucks would come in and just kind of any way in there, park in there. Now they have a natural way out to 87. Plan 1 is an egress out onto what's called the West Service Road on the west side of the port. Right now, this is all filled in with grass, and one of the proposals is that we do the same type of similar diagonal parking here with an egress out to the West Service Road, and then they can reroute back down into 87. Again, it funnels off some of the congestion. It's not a fixed by any means, but we quickly learned with this proposal right here, it did help in the short term. It's not.
What is it? I mean, isn't the backup the number of custom availability to inspect? You can inspect while they're in those, while they're parked there?
We can. We would prefer not to. It's very difficult to climb up into the trucks there. What we can do is direct them to the examination areas here, which again is limited.
How many examination areas?
Right behind you, sir. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we can back them up and safely examine the car. We do examine them right there on times, and we'll examine them also right up in my bearings here. Up in here when they cross the primary, sometimes there's spot check there also. Preferably, if we're going to do an intensified examination, we would do it in a facility that's controlled.
Which is here.
Which is here.
When they come in there. What did I see back there when they were just
Primary. That is the primary point. That's where they first come up. Now, we will do examinations, very spot checks, but we obviously...
Isn't that the place of the greatest bottleneck?
Yes, sir. That and back up on the highway, yes.
Right. If you solve that bottleneck, you then need to do these. Does this make it any quicker?
This is, again, short term, because to solve the bottleneck, right now, all this will get us is to get the trucks that have to come down here. Trucks have to come down here to interface with brokers. We may not examine them. We only examine, what is it,
3 to 5%.
3 to 5%. We actually conduct examinations. They still have to come down here for processing.
Oh.
So that will get them,
So this speeds up, all of these things will not speed up the examination, but will speed up the processing.
That is
By
correct.
speeding up the processing, do you speed up the line that backs up on I-87?
Yes, because on occasions, congestion here has backed up through the access road to the booth and beyond. So it was physically impossible for the inspectors to release shipments that, as Mr. Keefe indicated, certain shipments are on various release mechanisms, and not all of them are required to come to this facility. Some of them can go straight to their destination once of the initial exam, and they're unable to be released at the primary booth because of congestion backing all the way back up to that area.
I've characterized these interim step senators as making the situation less awful.
But you see, you're assuming I know too much. I don't know the details of, I'm on the highway, I'm a trucker. Okay, I drive, I wait in line, I get to that first booth. What is done there?
That first booth, there are immigration issues addressed, customs entry considerations are given. Depending on the type of merchandise that you have and the type of release mechanism that your firm may have availed themselves to, if it is on what is called a brass release system, it's a quick release system. You have pre-approval because of high volume, low risk. You present certain paperwork, certain fees, invoice is presented. The inspector will take care of immigration concerns. Are you legal to come into the country? And then you're allowed to proceed to your destination. From there, the paperwork goes to
Everyone has to go through that first.
primary. Every vehicle goes to primary.
The great frustration here, Senator, is that the vast majority of that traffic that actually moves through very quickly, you could get to the facility. They can't get to the facility.
The facility meaning the primary booth.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
that is the first proposal that we're talking about, the egress. The second proposal has already been alluded to, excuse me, by Tim Michonelli. It's a third truck booth. Excuse me. What we're proposing here is to place a third truck booth in. Excuse me. And to answer the question I know the senator is going to ask, yes, this will speed up that volume, because this will process vehicles either directly to proceed to destination or to the compound. This third truck booth, there's a plan in place to widen the existing booth we have, and actually the proposal proposes 3 new truck booths. The reason is the booths that are up there, if we have time to tour after, the inspector conducting the business up there has to conduct a variety of business for multi-agencies. They are not very well laid out to do the type of business we do. On the southern border, for example, they have booths that are called super booths, and they are very well designed. That's why we're proposing 3 new booths to put in there, and that will then again speed up the process.
That will speed up the lines.
Yes. The last proposal,
You keep the existing booths when you build the 3 new ones?
we have in the past, when we've replaced booths, we've kept them. We can find other uses for them, yes. One of the booths up there right now is very old, and I don't know if it has any use.
No. What I mean is while you're building, the 3 new booths are alongside, where are they in relation to the existing?
We haven't exactly determined that, but you make a good point, because we don't want to further cause congestion while we're under construction. That's a very good point. We have to be cognizant of that. The last proposal, again, mirrors the first one that I spoke about. It's a very simple thing. As you go outside, you'll see in these areas right here, these are grass and concrete medians that basically are nice, they're decorative. But when these trucks, when we talk about these trucks coming in, where do they park? Do we do examinations up there? We do some examinations up there, and sometimes they'll be furthered and be directed down here. These examinations here, there's no real place to park the vehicles, the trucks, the tractor trailers while we do those examinations. We will have inspectors crawling underneath, out and around. It's not a good situation. This is really, while it is very nice, and I'm not against grassy areas, this is very precious land to us up here. There's also some other land, and we've kind of just kicked this around down in here, that is also some land we don't use. So the third proposal, and one of the other problems we have is we have bus traffic coming in, and I'm going to yield this to Mr. McCabe, who's the INS Port Director, in a minute to talk about one of the plans we have right here. But when we back trucks into here to do examinations, we also obstruct not only buses coming through, but then again that creates a further bottleneck. And the trucks, there have been times here that literally trucks do not move. Either they're backed into the compound too far here, or we have too many charter buses here, we're at gridlock. We can't even move. So hopefully if we, what Mr. McCabe's going to speak about here can address how we can facilitate the buses, which are numerous and have grown as everything else. So those are the 3 proposals plus the 1 that we've already done so far, and I'm going to turn the,
And the 3 are sort of independent of one another.
yes, sir.
Problem we face with buses is they're mingled in with the truck traffic. On many nights now, we will have 20 to 30 buses come down. The passengers sit and wait for the bus to get through the truck lane, only to be referred under this canopy, where we do the inspection, which may take as little as 10 minutes. And they've sat and waited for 2 hours in this traffic. We want what is now standard construction in new facilities, a bus facility on this side of the building, which is common sense, where the doors of the bus open, the passengers get out. In fact, you would eliminate a lot of the need for inspectors to go out and tell people to get out. They can be up to 2 or 3 hours if they're mingled in with this truck traffic.
And that line with the truck, they're being treated as a truck.
I told Gary in a few weeks before Easter, we'll have upwards of 150 buses on the Thursday before Easter. Last year, I was out here. I wish I had videotaped it, because intermingled was trucks, kids, college kids from Europe, wandering around in this area while truckers are inching through with tractor trailers. It's the making of a disaster.
Right. So this is a 4th proposal.
Exactly. And along with it, not only would we segregate bus traffic over here, we'd have a lobby area similar to what airport inspections are, inspection booths.
What's the cost of that?
That runs about $200,000, I believe, overall.
That's all?
It's not a major
The
issue.
separate bus for the whole thing?
This is all paved over here, so that's a small expense. The addition on this side of the building isn't that big an addition, because you're going to keep people flowing through. You're not going to be congregating them in there. The other issue
And
that
does that come out of GSA money or INS money?
the agencies will eventually pay rent on whatever GSA provides.
GSA would have to build this.
They would build it.
These are all interim projects that are pending before GSA right now, that's within their capacity to have us off and doing this year.
$200,000 to get the bus
In there.
system.
We need you to help us get GSA to say, yes, let's get going with 2 bids.
Well, I think GSA,
Yeah.
these proposals that are presented this morning total about $1 million.
All
Well,
four.
they say this is-
Even the extra booth.
Yes.
Don't you have to build extra roadway for that extra booth?
The widening of the front road is part of it.
And that's still $1 million.
Still $1 million.
And GSA has said yes on all of these?
Correct.
But
With
so what's,
the understanding that they'll come back and grant funding federally.
right, what is holding it up?
We have the requirement, these are finalized for the last week. We've only had them for 2 weeks now. Now we're really moving forward on this.
So I could call up the head of GSA and say, move these things as quick as you can. Gotcha. Okay, that's done.
And one other thing to consider, and Mr. Michinelli mentioned this yesterday, we're starting to see an increase in car traffic again. I've worked here 23 years. I'm seeing things go around, come around.
Yeah.
And I've told Gary, 23 years ago, I worked here, I saw 7, 8 lanes of traffic, and I would see cars turn around and go right back to Canada because they were discouraged by what they saw. And I certainly hope we don't miss the boat and let that occur again. That's my own little pitch.
And the cars go through the same place as the buses?
Currently, the cars are over on this side. We would move them over into this area. The
Why?
idea is we'd expand out
Why wouldn't you let the cars stay where they are?
because there's a problem with the cars would have to cross in front of the buses as they exit. You'd be creating a
But you're
new
not going to
problem.
slow down the cars. Is there a car waiting right now or not at all?
Not a
When we
significant.
get to the big picture here, we are talking about separating trucks and passenger cars entirely.
Right.
As the gentleman preceding me indicated, these are part of the short-term, low-budget proposals, and this is the final piece of that cake. Where we are right now is, here's the primary booth. Once the new booths are installed, in order to have a queuing area up to the border, it is proposed that this is widened so that if there is a delay, that is the roadway here. And this is a grassy area again.
So you
and
just widen the road so
widen
people
it.
could wait and not back up as long?
The truck traffic specifically. Okay, you'll notice there's a bottleneck right at the border. And again, these are the short-term to mid-term that GSA has been working
How much
on.
is that one?
That, depending on the amount of payment, is anywhere from 120 to 375,000, 400,000. There's federal
Gary,
T21
can I
money.
get all 5 of these on one sheet?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Just put them down, 3 sentences each, so when I call the GSA, I'll just go through all 5. and ask
I
them.
want to-
Then this final drawing, this is a conceptual drawing of what we envision as the ideal way to deal with the situation. Again, the main port is down here. What we've done is, this is in Canada, this is the duty-free store in Canada. Currently, you have a 2-lane highway coming from Canada. So regardless of what was done in the United States, the bottleneck,
Senator, this is in your packet.
Right.
You have a copy of this.
that should be the last
This is the
drawing.
$23 million.
This is the Port of Excellence.
That's what it is.
This is the vision.
The concept being that Quebec would put in a new road segregating commercial and passenger traffic, have it come in behind the duty-free store. Part of this property is currently owned by GSA, about 23 acres, I believe. And the concept, and these are just preliminary drawings, would be that all truck traffic would come to this area and eventually go to a processing area. There will no longer be any queuing areas in the passenger side. The trucks that are processed by the brokers would be removed from there. If there were delays because of agency requirements, paperwork not being correct, any delays there would not have an impact on the release of other shipments. Once the shipments have been processed, then they would be released, and if they need to be examined, they could physically come to this building here, and those that have been cleared for destination could proceed further. Along with that, there
This is
are...
based on other facilities, border facilities that have been successful.
Actually, this is,
in years.
yeah, this is very much like what they have just built at Fort Erie. It was built on the Canadian side in that case, because the land was. It's a very similar kind of concept in terms of how to deal with commercial traffic.
Yeah, the concept is very similar. We feel our concept here is much better because now we're dealing with the ability of our brokers that we need to interact with being able to work here, whereas at Fort Erie, U.S. brokers are not able to work in Canada. So everything's processed within our
And
territory.
the only other question I have is timetable. 5 little projects.
I believe GSA indicated they could be completed within the year.
With the paving this summer, doing all the road work this summer, and the booths probably in the spring of this year.
So the only problem you have now, everything's been approved, it's just waiting on the approvals, right?
The money is available, it's now just the agreement with the inspection agencies that our investment will be returned, which I think the logistics on both parties are agreeing. It's now, probably a week before we seal the deal and get moving on the short-term items.
And for the major project, I understand that it's usually a 2 to 5 year turnaround time from approval to various processes because of the dollar amounts involved. This
What
is
would they
roughly-
begin working on? Is it in pieces? I mean, because we've asked for just the starting amount of money for these, right?
The first 4 proposals that we went through prior to this slide are all pieces that GSA can deal with.
No, I know, but in the budget, we're asking to make this the 5th proposal.
Yes.
I might need to step in here. because
Go ahead, Gary.
We're getting more into the area of advocating for the project. I know the agencies are in a position where they're not supposed to do that with you.
Right.
I don't have the federal hat on, so I can't. We don't have 5 years. We got a crisis right now. Bob Trotter, who I'm sure you've spoken to in the past at U.S. Customs, tells me that the truck levels we have here now, the present trends continue, and there's no reason right now to think that they're not going to. We could have a doubling of the present truck traffic here in 5 years' time. So if we're out there 5 years from now just implementing the solution, I don't know where we're going to be. So with the timing is critical. The coalition's hope is that with your continued shoulder to the wheel and Senator Moynihan's and our other congressional partners, given the importance of this project, and $23 million is a heavy lift in one sense for this region, but on the other hand, for the states here, and in fact, the federal government has so uninvested in this facility for the last 40 years.
But usually, we're not going to get all
We could do that
23
over
million in one budget. That's what I'm asking.
Absolutely. Hopefully, it can be done over 2 years. That's what we're asking. That's what we're seeking. If we can get it started this year, if I know Senator
Well,
White
that's what I'm saying is,
get
let's
the
say,
first appropriation and maybe full authorization.
Right. let's say you could get it authorized, and let's say we get some of the appropriation, a good chunk. Could you start working with that initial appropriation, or do you have to wait till it all accumulates?
No, the thing is phased, and I
It is
think
phased,
is very
okay.
well identified in pieces that as the money becomes available. I know the agencies, the GSA, are prepared to do this. We'll need some coordination with Quebec, and I know Claude and I have talked about that, to do the piece on the other side, and we'll continue to talk about that. But if we could get full authorization this year, get a significant earmarking, $6-7 million, more if you get it, we'll be on our way. I think we'll feel very confident then, and I think the message to the people who are concerned about this corridor, the truckers, the companies that we're looking to attract here to this area, who are suddenly starting to say, well, wait a minute, it's not as easy and convenient to get there as you told me.
Right.
I think we'll be convinced, okay, well, you're fixing it. All right, we'll work with it.
Okay. What are the alternative routes? There's one in Vermont.
Highgate, Vermont, although it's not connected with interstate, so that's always going to be a real handicap.
How long does it take to get from Montreal to Highgate and then back to Albany? When they go through Highgate, do they go
They go through Highgate, they're more likely to be headed for Boston.
So if you were a truck going from Montreal to New York City,
You want to come through here.
you do not want to go
You
to
don't want to go
Highgate.
to an alternative route. No.
Can we go take a look?
Yeah, I think we've covered it.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You made it very simple.
I did want to introduce, I'm sorry, when we came in, Michael D'Ambrosio, Director of the Eastern Great Lakes Commercial Management Center, and Christopher Perry, who's the Acting Court Director here. Thank them for putting this together and hosting this here today. This St. Patrick's Day, the day of green.
Action up here, and I want to particularly thank Senator Schumer for being here. This is the third time in several months that he's been here to the North Country. He promised that we were going to see him frequently, that he was going to listen to what we need up here, and that he'd be back here to be a full partner to help us get it done. We've reviewed the action steps that we need to get this court fixed, to achieve the Court of Excellence that we've been talking about, that we need, we deserve, that we need as quickly as possible here at Champlain. He's as fully committed as ever to getting us to that end goal, and it's my pleasure to turn this over to Senator Schumer. Senator, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Gary. And I want to thank Gary Douglas. I want to thank everybody for being here. Our government officials from GSA, from Customs, and from INS, as well as representatives from my colleagues who I'll be working with on this project, Senator Moynihan, Congressman McHugh, and Congressman Sweeney. I guess he doesn't have a representative here, as well as the mayor and Celine from the county legislature. Let me just say, you can hear about a problem, but until you see it firsthand, you don't really, the impact doesn't hit home, and that's why I wanted to come up here. To talk to a few of the truckers, to see a bus in line, waiting in line, sometimes for hours as the trucks line up, and to see a facility that is in great need of overhaul really pounds home the need to help. Let me just say that we are blessed here that there is more traffic. We are blessed that there's more trade. We're blessed that there's more tourism. But it'll all go for naught unless we change this facility and make it a modern facility that can speed trucks along, can separate the cars and buses, particularly from the trucks. And the group today, the government officials at the federal, state, and local levels have outlined a two-pronged plan. One, a short-term plan. I will be calling up the head of GSA in Washington on Monday and say, move all 5 pieces of that plan quickly. And then the long-term plan, which is to make this, to modernize this facility, which will be a long-term, heavier lift. But seeing things here, we'll have to move it as quickly as possible. So I'm going to do everything that I can to get this Champlain facility modernized. It's not only important to the North Country, it's important to the entire state of New York. We don't want to see traffic go elsewhere. We don't want to see people, commerce turned down. This is jobs. It's jobs in a whole lot of ways, which we need in upstate New York, and the federal government's got to pitch in. One of the best ways they can pitch in is to do this. So I'm going to work closely with GSA, with Customs, and with Immigration to see what I can do to get this done.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? I'm ready for any questions.
Is this a tough sell in light of, I mean, will this be regarded as, you know, pork or something like that?
No. Well, all you have to do is come up here and see this is not pork. This is not frivolous. This is life and death. This is sheer necessity. And
make any difference how the federal election turns out in a year?
well, I hope not. And as you can see, we have a bipartisan group here. When there's a Democratic president, maybe the Democrats will step forward a little. When there's a Republican president, the Republicans will step forward a little. But the fact that we're working on this in a bipartisan way should insulate us some from the vicissitudes of politics.
What are the chances you see of them coming to Charlotte?
Well, I think it has a pretty good chance because it's so needed. I think the question is how quickly we can get it done. You don't want the reputation. I mean, we were told inside, we'd seen a chart that said that truck traffic had almost doubled since NAFTA, and now they're saying it may double again. And we don't want to see people turn away, to not trade, to not be tourists or anything else because they have to wait 2-3 hours at the border. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
This is, though, a 2-year appropriation effort, you think?
Yeah. Yeah, but if we get the first amount of money this year, they could start working. You're cold? And I don't feel so bad. If the mayor of Plattsburgh is cold, then a guy from Brooklyn doesn't feel so bad.
Mike?
On the dairy issue.
Yes.
You were working together.
Yeah. Wow.
And they don't have to have visas. Look at that.
They took your lead, Senator.
Well, that's how we want the trucks to go. Without hindrance. In beautiful formations.
Wire system. Mayor of Saratoga wants you to fight rerouting Amtrak into Vermont. You know anything about that? Are you on board there?
Well, yeah, I'm going to be working